Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, we've definitely got a pretty interesting shell. It's one that I've never shot before, but it's one that a couple of you guys have said that you've tried with some decent results before, but I really don't know. I haven't had the best of luck with this brand of shells, so I don't know, it could go either way, I guess. But for the shell I've got out here today, it's another one that BG sent us. So, big thank you to him for sending some shells, but it's one of these. Now, I don't have the box for these, and I only have one of these shells, but this is an older Hevi-Shot Magnum Blend. It's a 3.5 inch, 2.25 ounce load of number 5s, 6s, and 7s, but this is the typical Hevi-Shot deal where the tungsten is blended in with some other metals, so it's not actually the full-on density that the modern TSS type shells use. So I don't know, these Hevi-Shot shells have been a very mixed bag. A lot of them, for me, that I've tested haven't been great, but the Remington version with the Hevi-Shot in it we tested last week did very well, all things considered. So I don't know. Maybe these older Mag Blend shells might do pretty decent. I don't know. But I've only got one to test, so I hope we can get some decent pattern results out of it anyway. And just for reference, I believe the box claims 1,200 feet per second on these shells, but we'll be able to see our actual velocity for this round when we fire it as well. But for the setup I've got out here today, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag, and for a choke, I went with this guy. This is the Indian Creek 675 constriction turkey choke, and it's done us pretty well in the past when it comes to 5-shot and 6-shot and stuff like that. So I figured maybe it might do something decent for us today as well, but I think it's going to come down to more of what the shells are capable of than what the choke is actually capable of in this case anyway. So with that being said, as for today's test, everything is going to be the same as usual. I have the turkey target set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to get our speed and see if the 1200 claim is actually about right. So let's get you guys set up with a view of the target. We'll take our shot, look at our chrono, and then go down and see how they actually performed. I really don't know what to expect out of these shells. I've never fired any of the Magnum Blend, so we might see a good pattern, we might not. I don't know. It's been a mixed bag with these Hevi-Shot shells, but let's go over here and shoot it and see what kind of pattern we can actually get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1287 through the chrono. I believe the box on these claims 1200, so if that's the case, then we are a little bit above their claim. And 1287 is getting a little bit up there towards the faster side, but that doesn't surprise me considering it's a Hevi-Shot shell. They seem to run a little bit towards the faster side most of the time for whatever reason, so I wouldn't say there's anything too strange up here as far as our chronograph reading goes. But how well did they actually pattern down at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, we do have a dead bird, and it looks like we have all 3 pellet sizes, a 5, 6, and 7 in the brain there. A 7 right behind his eye, a 5 right below that, and a 6 right in front of his eye. So that's definitely pretty interesting to see, and would have absolutely taken that bird at 40 yards. Now, looking at the overall pattern here, it's kind of interesting looking. We definitely have a core area, but it did favor to the right. I'd say that area right in there is our core area, and that looks pretty good overall. It's definitely tighter and hotter than the rest of the pattern, and it's relatively even, all things considered, as well. There's not really any bigger voids in there to take note of, so that looks pretty good. But backing up and looking at the whole pattern here, it's quite a bit on the open side. We clearly do have a core that favored a little bit right, but as you can see, I mean, we have pellets strung all over the rest of this paper here, and that really kind of plays into what we've seen previously out of the Hevi-Shot type of shells, is this just sporadic, splotchy, just all over the place kind of pattern. Now, I will say, this is not a terrible pattern. That core area right there looks pretty good overall, I'd say. But the rest of the pattern has a whole lot more to be desired, I guess. So, I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag on this one, but overall, it's absolutely better than a lot of the other Hevi-Shot shells we've fired, that's for sure. So, I guess it's kind of a trade-off. You get a decent core, but the rest of the pattern is quite a bit wide open. At the end of the day, it would absolutely take a bird out to 40 yards, no question about it. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and as you can see, definitely a big, long 3.5 inch wad, that's for sure. So it is definitely a full length, but there's not really a whole lot to take note of. Not even really any pinholes, maybe one or two right up here on this edge, but I'm not at all concerned about that. But there's no rips or tears or anything. There's nothing stuck down in there. It opened up almost kind of perfectly even. Definitely nothing weird, I wouldn't say. But overall, I'd say pretty run-of-the-mill, average looking, not really anything too special to take note of that would have affected anything, I'd say. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance there? Definitely kind of a mixed bag, I'd say. We've got a pretty decent looking core area for sure, but once you get outside of that 10 to 12 inch circle sized area there, it really gets open and sporadic. So I guess it gives you a good amount of leeway, but still, that's a little bit more on the open and sporadic side than what I would prefer to see. I like the core area, but I don't like the rest of the pattern. But at the end of the day, if that's the shell and combo you had, you could absolutely take a turkey at 40 yards with it. So what do you guys think about it? Is that about what you expected to see? Were you hoping for a little bit better or thinking it might do a little bit worse? And if you shoot or have tried any of these Hevi-Shot Mag Blend 5, 6, and 7 shells, what has been your experience with them? Have you gotten good results out of them? Or has this kind of been the same thing you've seen as well? Let me know all that down in the comments. But I guess for a Hevi-Shot shell, that's not bad. It's definitely not the worst we've seen by a long shot. But either way, I've got a bunch more tests to film for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as a mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.